So let's share the screen. And I want you guys to take a second and read the objective. This is all the stuff we're doing in the next 2 or 3 days. So you should by now know how to describe the transformation, identify the vertex, axis of symmetry, how the parabola opens, and whether it creates a maximum or minimum value. We're also going to start talking about the domain and range and increasing and decreasing intervals. So make sure that you guys write this down or you have it somewhere handy. We're going to start with the second formula. Now you guys probably saw this 2 years ago in Algebra 1. I know some of you guys write this stuff down, some of you don't. If you want to take a picture, take a picture. Make sure you follow along and you practice. For the next 30 minutes, we are basically going to stay on this page. And one of the hardest things about being a teacher during this is providing them a right amount of wait time without you guys nodding off. So I'm going to go ahead and get going with this. But standard form is what you're used to. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. You guys often see this and have seen this as something like this. I didn't mean that. It's like x squared plus 3x plus 2. Again, it's a quadratic, but this is how we're used to seeing our quadratics. We're not used to seeing it like it was in vertex form in the last couple days. So how we were doing it before was this, a quantity of x minus h squared plus k. Now we're going to start going back and forth on some of that stuff, but not for a couple days. All right. Now things to notice. Your a is always your coefficient for your quadratic term, always. Your b value is your coefficient for your linear term. And your c value is your constant every single time. Now, how you find the x coordinate for your vertex or your h value is the opposite of b over 2a. Remember, your vertex is at the point hk. A is always, always, always your coefficient for x squared. So for instance, if I had an equation like this, that was y. Y equals negative 3x squared plus 6x minus 5. Your a value here is negative 3. Your b value is positive 6. And your c value is negative 5. Now again, I know it's been about 1.5 years since you guys have seen this, but you used to do that all the time in using the quadratic formula. Now, speaking of the quadratic formula, if anybody went to Eastwood and they had Mr. Guiley, he used to sing a song kind of to the Notre Dame fight song where like x equals a to b.
Plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. Yay!
See? All right, so you know it. So the quadratic formula is actually kind of a derivation of this, but opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2 times a. Now, we're not talking about solutions, so I can get rid of this part. That's how you can remember this, how to find your x coordinate. It's the opposite of b over 2a. Now, let's go ahead and do this first one. This very first one, and I am by no means trying to treat you guys like we're in elementary school and make you write this stuff down, but I want to make sure you're not making any mistakes. So I want you on every single one of these to write your values for A, B, and C. So on example 1, what's your A value?
1,
And B is?
4,
Positive 4, and C is?
-3.
Perfect. Remember, the signs are going to go with it. So to find your vertex, I take the opposite of B, not just negative B. So how Mr. Guiley said it, why it's not wrong, it could have been more accurate. It's always the opposite of what B is. So if B is positive 4, the opposite of B is what?
3,
No, the opposite of B.
-4.
Negative 4. You just change the sign no matter what it is. Over 2 times A. Well, 2 times, what's your A value?
1.
1. Now, if we were in class, I would say I want to see this every single time. But until you truly get good at this, you should write this anyway. I obviously can't check your work. But that's the first step, okay? Now, what is 2 times 1?
2.
So -4 divided by 2 is -2, and that's your H value. Please watch. This is the heart of what we're doing today. Some of you already know it. Some think it's easy. Some people may have never seen this or feel like you've never seen this. To find K, or your Y coordinate in your vertex, all you do is plug this back in for X everywhere you see an X. Everywhere you see an X. I see an X here, and I see it here. And what value am I plugging in? Your H value. Use parentheses when you plug it in. By the way, if you are somebody that struggles with math, it's okay. It is okay. You're not going to hear math teachers say that very often, but it's okay. Plug it in your calculator. It's just going to take you more time. Guys, some of these tools aren't going away. Your phone's not going away. Your calculator's not going away. We'll have calculators, phones, computers. The biggest problem is we don't know how to use them. So if you don't want to do this in your head, make sure you plug it in correctly with parentheses. So what is -2 squared?
4.
4. Now, if you type that in your calculator and you didn't use parentheses, you would have got -4. 4 times -2 is -8 minus 3. And again, 4 minus 8 is -4 minus 3 is -7. And this is the heart of the lesson of what we're doing. You have to be good at this. And you have to be kind of quick with it. Now, just to give you kind of a precursor of the entire lesson, once you find your vertex at -2, -7, your X is -2, your Y is -1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's a vertex. And I want you guys to kind of picture what this looks like. What was your A value again? Your A value in example 1 was what?
1.
1. So does this open up or does it open down?
Up.
Why did you say up?
Because it's a positive value.
Exactly. So you guys already know a lot of this stuff. This has to open up because A is positive. So your vertex is right here, and you know that it's going to open up and look something like this. Again, we're gonna talk more about graphing this a little bit later. But there's parts of this that you need to know. And I don't want to get too far into it, but 90% of what we do in this class for the next 2 weeks is about finding the vertex. Now, I'm going to do number 2 with you. Number 2, what is my A value, my B value, and your C value? A is, B is, C is. What's A?
-2.
Your B value is?
8.
And your C value is?
5.
5. So the opposite of B over 2A. What's the opposite of B?
-8.
Over 2 times A. And your A value is -2. 2 times -2 is -4. Again, some of you guys can do this step in your head. The reason I keep showing you is because people make mistakes and they forget. They think it's just all over 2. In fact, on the quadratic formula, most people just write over 2. It's 2A. So -8 divided by -4 means that my H value is at +2. Now we need to find the K value. So try this on your own. I'm not going to give you a ton of time. I'm going to give you guys about 30 seconds to plug H in for X. Go. All right. So when I plug 2 in, the reason I wanted to give you guys a second to do this is to find if you're making a mistake. What do I do first? Do I multiply -2 times 2, or do I do 2 squared first? Ooh, what do I do first here?
Is it 2 squared first?
You have to do this squared first. So most people will end up with the wrong answer because they try and say -2 times 2 is -4, squared is 16. 2 squared is 4, times -2 is -8. 8 times 2, 16, plus 5. -8 plus 16 is +8, plus 5 is +13, and that's your vertex. Any questions? So by the way, all right, if there's no questions, I'm going to erase this real quick so I can do more on this page. This is at 213, so it's like 1, 2, 13 up here. Does this open up or down? Does number 2 open up or down?
Down.
How do you know it opens down?
Because it's a negative number.
Because it's a negative number. By the way, was it stretched or shrunk? Does that 2 value make it stretched or shrunk?
Stretch.
Stretched. So that means it's going to be steeper. By the way, we already know this. This means it's moving right 2 and up 13. This means, this negative means that it is opening down or reflected over the x-axis. This 2 value means it's stretched. So we still know a lot about this. By the way, again, pre-teaching for tomorrow, if it opens down, do you think that vertex is the highest point on the graph or the lowest point on the graph?
Highest.
It is the highest. So if it opens down, it creates a max value. And what is your max value? Always your K value. So your maximum height, and your height is your Y value, is 13. That's how we do this. By the way, your vertex here, remember it was -2, -7. So it looks something like this, right? If it opens up, is that vertex the highest point or the lowest point?
It's the lowest point.
So because it's the lowest point, if it opens up, then you would have a minimum value of -7. Now we'll take notes on that tomorrow, but I want to kind of show you guys everything plays off the vertex. So it's really important that you guys understand the vertex and what it means. Now, I don't want to give you too much time, but we've got 2 more questions here, number 3 and number 4. My guess is more than half of you guys will miss number 3. So take a second and see if you can just find the vertex on number 3. And by a second, I'm going to give you guys about 45 seconds. Go. All right. So what's your value for A on 3?
1.
What's your value for B?
0.
Oh, good job. That's going to trip a lot of people up. Remember what we said at the beginning. A is your coefficient for your quadratic term, B is your coefficient for your linear term, and C is your constant. So B is 0, C is 3. If your B value is 0, the opposite of 0 is 0. There's no opposite of 0. 0 over anything is just 0. So a number 3, the opposite of B over 2A would be 0 over 2, which is 0. Plug it back in, and what'd you get?
Three.
That's it. By the way, does this open up or down?
Up.
Why does it open up?
Because A is positive.
Perfect. So is that a maximum or minimum value?
Minimum.
It's a minimum because it's the lowest point on the graph. So what is your minimum value? It's always your K value. Your minimum value is 3. All right, last thing we're doing, and then we are finished for today, is example 4. I think that we're finished for today. Let me check the next slide. All right, so what's my A value on number 4?
One.
1,
What's my B value?
-6,
And what's my C value?
Zero.
It's just 0. So the opposite of B is what?
+6.
Perfect. Positive 6. So remember, it's the opposite. So you change the sign over. 2 times A, 2 times 1 is 2. So my H value is 3. My K value, plug it back in and see what you get. Somebody tell me the answer. What is 3 squared minus 6 times 3?
Is it -9?
It is -9. And does this open up or down? I'll answer it for you. I still want to check this. It opens up. This one I'm not gonna check. So if my vertex is at 3, -9, and it opens up, is that a maximum or minimum value? Is that the lowest point or the highest point?
It's a minimum value.
It's the lowest point, so it's a minimum value. What is the minimum value? -9, always your K value. Now, I kind of know that some of you guys aren't really paying attention. At least that's a guess. I wouldn't say I know, it's a guess. Because I got the same 4 or 5 people volunteering for everything. Guys, we've got a reopening plan. I don't know when we're going to be back, but there is a plan. Which means if we're back in school, we're going to have a final. You're going to be held accountable for all this stuff. All right, so it's not a warning, but it is kind of, or not a threat, but it is kind of a, you guys need to know this. All right, last 2. Try this on your own. Just find the H and K and we're done. Don't do anything else, just find your vertex. And we're gonna start with our notes with this tomorrow. All right, so I'll leave this up here for tomorrow. But again, your A value is 2, your B is -4, and your C is -1. Caden, what's the opposite of B? Oh, your microphone wasn't working. Let's go with Landon. What's the opposite of B?
Isn't it 4?
4 over. Ian, what's 2 times A? What's the value for 2 times A?
Is it 4?
It is 4, perfect. And 4 over 4 is just 1. That's your H value. So plug it back in. Do I do 2 times 1 first, or do I do 1 squared first?
Don't
One
you do
squared.
Yeah, you have to do the exponent first. So 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. -4 times 1 is -4 minus 1, which makes it -3. Now, I'm going to clean this up, but that's your vertex for number 1, is 1, -3. In fact, maybe I'll take it off. We'll do this again tomorrow. Next one, again, I want to give you guys time to get there, and we've only got about 5 minutes left in class. Your A value is -1. Your B value is -6. Your C value is 2. The opposite of B is +6 over 2 times A is -2. So my H coordinate is -3. Again, take about 30 seconds, plug it back in, make sure you don't make any silly mistakes. This is the number 1 most missed type of problem. Then I'm going to call on several people here, see what you got. So make sure you're getting ready to unmute. Henry, what'd you get?
Is it 3?
I heard 3. Jalen, what'd you get? I want the K value here.
-7.
-7. Marvin, what'd you get?
-8.
Got lots of different answers. Abraham, what'd you get? No Abraham. Kennedy, what'd you get?
I got -7 too.
You got -7. All right, so let's check it out. It is the opposite of -3 squared minus 6 times -3 plus 2. -3 squared is 9. The opposite is -9. -6 times -3 is +18 plus 2. So I understand where the mistake was made. Hopefully you guys do too. Pay attention to your signs. -9 plus 18 is 9, plus 2 is
11.
11. Last one, just for good measure. Does this open up or down?
Down.
Because your A value is negative. Because your A value is negative. So is this the highest or the lowest? Is that the maximum or minimum?
Maximum
And what is your maximum value?
11.
Perfect. Now we'll take more notes on that tomorrow. We're going to actually pick up on both of these questions. This is where we're picking up from tomorrow. So your homework is open, but you probably don't have enough information to be able to do the homework yet. So make sure you get your homework from 2.1 due. It's due it, or in today. Let's do it by midnight. All right. So let's go ahead and stop recording. Then you guys can leave as long as you
Thank you.